when you look at the sun's in Cancer, last degree of Cancer. So the sun's in Cancer. That's nighttime is, daylight is greater, but nighttime is increasing. So I'm me, I'm a strong sense of who I am, but I need to belong. The nighttime is increasing. I need to have security. I want to have home. I need to feel secure. But if I need to have secure, the moon tends to counter, wait a second. Okay, how am I going to do this? Tends to be practical. So the sun is trying to project the sensitivity and the concerns of, I'm Cancer. Are you sensitive to me? I can feel this. It's going to, but it's cardinal, so it's strong. She's going to be put, it's driving with her feelings. You know, her feelings are strong. And so that's the cardinal element, the cardinal water to strong feelings. Strong emotional feelings, but you're not going to show them with closed hands. Funny contrast. But these strong feelings are the nighttime increasing. I need to belong, but I got to do it my way. So when she feels there's a need for a relationship, she's going to have a sense. She's going to analyze it. It needs to work like this, or this is what has to be done, or this is how it's going to work. Her moon's going to be thinking, strategizing as much as she's feeling. Now that sun, it's in the Cancer, so it's reflective. It has that quality, but it's when you take it to the houses. So it's important for me to feel, to be able to feel. I feel as a keyword, to express to be my feeling, to be what I feel, or to be going forward with confidence in my feelings. That's the sun in Cancer. The moon's always saying, wait a second, wait a second. So the moon rules the Cancer, but the moon isn't exactly supporting the Cancer quite that much. But this Cancer sun is in the 8th house with Jupiter. Now Jupiter in the 8th house, sun in the 8th house, these are good things for business, for shared resources, for inheritances, for doing business, for trusting. So there's an inclination for a Cancer, especially Cancer with the sun in the 8th house, to be like the accountant. Doing so much books, everyone always needs these skills. They'll need me, I can do the business, and here's a deal, let's make a deal. Like, you can see these things. Now, again, this is the house of custody and relationships. So if there were kids, any kind of agreement of what needs to be happened, she would have a really positive outlook for what the kids need and what needs to be done. And she'd be generally lucky to be able to get it. So she's that's kind of lucky for making money for business or getting paid for what she's doing. The weak spot is her moon opposes it, and there's a big gap between her past and her feelings. Maybe it's simply something as being Chinese and trying to find a job in a Western world, but she'll do okay. But there'll be a challenge around it. She half solves that by being able to translate. It works to two sides. But the sun is in the setting side of the chart. It's above the horizon. It's responding to others. For me to be important, I have to be able to have something of value that people will trust me for responding, so I can respond to them and I can participate practically. I have some skills that will make money and that people need. So this idea of trust, of making investments in a certain way, if you're with someone, two people together can certainly make a lot more money and take care of a lot more expenses than just doing it on your own. Okay, so her sun is going in that direction with relationships, commitments. Let's see where it takes us. But her moon isn't going to want to get isolated in a depressed situation. So there's a certain, in a way that Jupiter comes into this, because there's certain, being Chinese in Canada, there would be a certain appeal or cosmopolitan nature to that sun and the Jupiter in the 8th house. But the 8th house just being responding to others and being and also being functional and responding to others, working with someone else, sharing a mortgage, having kids, taking care of things together. Her nature is geared to do that, to carry her part. In fact, if she was married and the guy wasn't making enough money, she would be going out of her way to make the extra money to take care of what they need, because she wouldn't want to let the person down. Okay, so this need to be involved, to be participating, to be responsible, to be functional, to be meaningful part of the community. Accountant has that, but so would the psychologist, the astrologer would have that. So she has these in a way as her hobbies. Astrology is certainly the hobby, links into some of the psychology. These are the main ideas: the eighth house sun, the setting, the above the horizon, the functional, the fixed mutual resources, the shared resources, the trust, the exchanges. She would normally tend to be lucky in those exchanges. In marrying someone that's fairly well off, or things are being taken care of, or she'd be able to find jobs to carry her side of it. Her ability to align like that is fairly good. Her sun only has one difficult aspect to it. There's no other good or bad aspects. It has the square to Mars. The Mars square to the sun means she's impatient and can get angry or tries to do too much. So in a job, she would work, Mars up in the 10th, she would work really hard to make the money she has to do. She'll be running around doing things to make money. She's pushing to make it happen. And if someone knew she would do that, they could take advantage of that, and that would be a good working relationship. But if someone didn't do it, or misused her, or was not nice to her, was angry to her, she could be very judgmental, the Cancer, reacting judgmentally to other people being unfair or assertive or forceful. And she's responding to the negative energy. As she's responding to negative energy, tries to feel about it, she's going to be analyzing and thinking with her moon in Aquarius, why should I take this? Why is this going? What are they trying to do? Well, how do I come back at this? What am I going to do about this? So there is an impatience. There is the idea, like if she were married and they had a mutual mortgage or whatever, she could see she'd be involved in that. But with the Mars, she'd be pushing to make it, and there might be fights around who's putting in, is everybody putting in equal amounts? What's fair, what's not? Or what's happening with this? How secure is it? I made the investment. Do I feel secure in this? But I'm not going to feel secure in the investment. I'm going to feel secure if where I'm living and what I'm feeling I can talk about and someone's listening to me. So if she has a partner that starts arguing and doesn't talk or doesn't listen or pulls away, she's going to have a difficult time. It's going to make her angry. Her anger is going to make her very judgmental. The judgmentalness is going to come up, and but her feelings are going to need to analyze this. Just need to get a plan of it, not to show cool or calm. So basically, it's a hardworking person. There's a drive, there's an energy, there's an assertiveness, but there's an intolerance for untrustworthiness and a tolerance for injustice. And because the Mars squares the sun, that sun in the 8th house of trust is going to run across battles over career, over status, over how long I can stay somewhere, if I'm getting paid enough, if somebody, partner is doing as much as they should, if I'm doing too much. These are definitely going to be issues with that Mars squaring the sun in the 8th. And in Cancer, it's going to be taken personally. But if she had to do something, she could force herself to do whatever she felt was needed with the moon in Aquarius. So a very interesting balance between the needs of the moon and the confidence of the sun. When she just goes on confidence, she might be too assertive and other people might be threatened by her, might feel it's abrasive, or she could attract abrasiveness from someone else for expecting too much. But she's going to be working to make it happen. The struggle is outside, it's not personal. It's just, do I stay at this job or don't I? The real need to feel secure is in the ability to be, if someone's working somewhere, no one's talking to her, listening to her, they're putting her down, she couldn't take it. But having a job working as a translator, where you're listening to what someone says, you're responding and translating what needs, you're taking the input in from others and you're turning around and explaining what they need to know and putting it into another language. That's a very brilliant way. That same process is someone could be psychoanalyzing and astrology, analyzing someone or understanding their trust or mistrust in their life, and developing a plan how to get out of the mistrust, how to build up your own life, how to get things going for yourself. Of course, the issue of the Cancer, this is like a very tendency to be more practical and to put down the emotion, be practical in life. I want to take this job or do that. But as she would get older, she could be in her 30s, late 30s, and decide to want, well, geez, I don't know if I don't want, do I have a kid? Don't I have a kid? Will I force it to have a kid? Or that agenda could come up, having the kid and having those responsibilities, rather than not having them, could come up for that sun in the 8th house in Cancer. Do I be a mom or not? There's a tendency, it's not worth it if it's a setup. If it's not working well, it's not worth it. I'll be doing everything. It depends on the partner she would attract. So I'm just using a few things, talking a few things around this. So we're looking at a symbol, we're looking at a chart, we're looking at this map, and we know this symbol or map is actually the DNA of a person's life, their cultural DNA, the impressions they've come into this world with, and what they're going to set up. So I'm taking it, I'm looking at, touching this, I'm trying to stretch it to make it alive and work it so it becomes like you can sense that in a person. As you would meet the person, she's going to be that, and she would start showing you how this works. You better be listening if she's showing, if she's reacting. Okay. That's it. I wouldn't say much more than that. It's that we did the moon, we did the sun, we saw a bit how they were relating to each other. We were working with the sun. We could see the balance of the moon, the past and the future sitting there. And again, the two sides of the seesaw. Okay. Now, I want to look at a couple other planets. I want to get to the IC, and we're going to go across the angles. But first, I'd like to look at her Mercury. And we'll just take a look at her Mercury, Venus, and Mars and see if we can get through these. The time? Yeah, we're doing good. Okay. So this structure of making association, this in-depth thinking of going through each of the characters of the signs, then each of the characteristics or categories of the houses, and relating it to that planetary function, how the attitude of the sign affects the planet or the sun or the moon, and it puts itself into the houses, and it does it easy or difficultly based on the aspects. So we're just doing that, and you just want to become familiar with it. This is normal things like scales in music. You're just used to doing this. No, if you have to think deeply, you just slow it down and you do that. And it becomes second nature to you. Then astrology is yours. Because what you apply in a natal chart, when you're looking at a transit chart, you're looking at other charts, you're applying them for different time periods, but it's the same interpretation applied for limited time periods. Whereas in your natal chart, it's a limited time period, it's your lifetime, but you've got this pattern for your life to work through. So her Mercury's in the same sign as her sun, both in Cancer. Both her mind and her sun are going to be ruled by the moon, which is in Sirius Aquarius. So the strategic Aquarius, I mean, that's not bad for the Mercury, but the imaginativeness of the Mercury in Cancer, it's going to have feelings. It's going to talk about sympathetic things, talk about little things, talk about personal things. That Mercury in Cancer is a little more emotional than just rational. So in a funny way, her mind is more emotional and picks up on the emotional things, but she's feeling and trying to live in a way that's not so emotional. But she's more emotional than she is rational.